Greetings, humans of planet Earth.
Earthlings, greetings,
Earthlings. Welcome
Peasants.
to, welcome to episode 2 of The Glorious Mess with your 3 favorite messes. My mic's like this, and I feel like I'm on a radio horse. Radio horse? Radio.
Radio voice, yes.
You're
This
inspired.
exists.
Cowboy Carter.
Yeah, we got the beautiful Taylor Noel leading our episode today. And of course, we are joined with the magnificent Raymond Jordan Johnson Brown, the individual who can't have one name.
And I also got new
But
glasses.
do any of us do? Like,
No.
we
No.
all
Those
have,
are
like,
those
what,
are new
4
glasses.
names?
You do look good. You look
Thank
very
you.
sophisticated.
It's giving David from, I know everyone's like, if you're not watching the YouTube recording of this, you're imagining it, but imagine David from, not Glee, what's that show called? Schitt's Creek. I feel it's giving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's giving
I
that.
see it.
Thank you.
What else was I supposed to say? I don't remember. Oh, I hope you listened to the first episode, and if you didn't and you skipped, then go back and listen to us again.
And just put
you
it
gotta
on
watch
repeat.
The first one before you can watch this one, or else it's just not going to make so much sense.
They all build on each other. They all build on each other. And I mean, yeah, let's just check in. How the hell is everyone doing?
I'll start. I'm definitely burnt the frickety fuck out. But I'm also doing everything successfully, so I'm riding the high that like things are still getting done, despite me feeling like a burning building, being like, everything's on fire. But it's working.
Capitalism loves you right now. They're like, you're productive still, you're valid. But inside your systems are like,
Yeah. If that's not a definition of capitalism, surviving in a burning building, I don't know what it is.
Right? There's that meme of the dog in the house, like everything's fine. It's like that.
That's
Would you say
me for the last like decade?
Well, my health adventures, Bronwynn, it might be coming for you. I'm kidding. I shouldn't say that. I don't want to wish negativity on you, but my health adventures continue. There's currently it's now 1.7 centimeter hole in my ass. So if anyone's ever had an abscess before, listen, navigating French healthcare and not understanding any French. Thankfully, my partner Fred translated, but like to have someone be behind you in a vulnerable place, stabbing into you and having no clue what's really happening has been quite the lesson of letting go of control, trust. Wow. Did I learn it? No. I was like, Fred will tell you, like one day Fred like was making the bed. I was like, that's not what I need right now. He's like, why?
I mean, you were advocating for yourself, really. True. Is what I look at it.
True. Thank
you. Setting
you.
boundaries.
Exactly.
So my response, but we're on the mend, you know, we're getting clear. The hole is filling. And that's
not in a fun way, unfortunately.
No. It's the hole I don't want penetrated, if I'm being honest with everyone. But penetration is penetration, and beggars can't be choosers.
Beggars can't be choosers. Oh, get what you get, and you don't get upset.
No, B-Ron, how's life and how's your health or life, whatever you want to share?
Did you just call me B-Ron? I kind of love that. I've been actually trying to find what am I called when I'm in my masculine or state. I'm like not quite a Chad, but I'm not much better than a Chad either. Byron. B-Ron.
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 What's going on in B-Ron's world?
Yeah. How am I? Let's check. I'm good, actually. I am well. It is April, which is my favorite month. It's when I come alive. It's when my little devil horns come out. But I'm feeling like it's going productive. I actually also have had like a big, huge, I don't know, growth or shift, and I'm excited for the next chapter of what my career looks like. I'm like, 6 months almost to 30, so I'm really checking it into being like, all right, the next chapter of life, what's working and what's not working, and a lot of shit's not working. So time to adjust. But
Yep.
yeah, I'm good.
Something interesting. You both talked about productivity, and there was this girl, Larissa. She is like the director of Ancestors Future, Afro-Indigenous woman. But she always writes this question of like, who would you be if you're not working? And I always
Yeah.
think about that as a check-in. So now I'm like, I'm asking you, who would you be if you're not productive?
Thriving. If it
Driving.
wasn't working, I would be thriving. I would be lost in a forest, frolicking
Mm,
somewhere, probably butt naked, and just
free.
it's really, if I'm not working, I'm probably in a forest.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I'm at your parents. I'm at your mom's house, Bronwynn.
Mm,
So I'm not working. I'm at your mom's house on the island, making musicals with Genevieve.
right?
Yes.
You know what I think I would be doing is, my answer. I think I would still be creating in
Yeah.
some capacity, just not
For money.
yeah, and I think actually my mentorship slash boss, Vanessa, said something to me very poignant in a meeting this week. And she's like, you are a creative that has turned your creativity into a corporate structure.
Mm,
Um, and it's a double-edged sword because you're super blessed to be able to make a living solely on in the arts.
mm-hmm,
But now your creative outlet has a deadline and it's
Ugh.
part of a machine.
Yeah.
And
mm-hmm,
yeah, the feeling of that, of being able, creating on command, and it's definitely very different. But I like to think that if I wasn't working, I would be creating for fun when the mood strikes me and be in my own flow. And I
mm-hmm.
definitely think I would be a bit more of a traveling person, and I would be somewhere warm with water and trees.
Mm. So it's just such an loud.
I mean, but
Wow.
you felt it. That was deep. You
The
felt
Holy
that.
Spirit moved deep within me. The power of water and how much I miss it.
Yes.
Like I'm just sitting in my like bathtub that I don't fit in. Not anymore with the hole in my bum, but typically I'm in the bathtub just like I need more. I need more. It needs fresh. I need movement in this water.
Yeah.
What was interesting going to Montreal too was you don't realize how blessed we are as a city in Vancouver to look
Hmm.
outside and be like water, trees, mountain.
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
until you go elsewhere and they exist, but you have to like search for it.
Hmm.
And
I was just thinking that literally as I was walking home 2 days ago, and I like looked to my right and I was like mountains, and then I looked to my left and there was the water, and then I had like the city, and I was like, wow, this isn't something that like most people get, where you could just do a full 360 and you're like, everywhere I see is mountains and water.
you don't know what you got till it's gone.
And it's gone. So I
Yeah.
I do. I get it.
So Taylor, what are we talking about today? What is your topic?
Lead us.
Our topic is actually going to ride this creative, I guess, flow, and we're going to shift into media and also comfort. So we're going to still stay on this train of thought. So I think to start off, I would love to know your go-to comfort movie and why. I
Ah,
also haven't answered this question, so
do,
I'm like,
do,
now I
do,
have to
do.
think. RJ, let's start with you, if you've got
Fuck.
one. I
Okay,
know,
okay.
as he's percolating with the hands on the head, being like, "Fuck me."
I know
Ah!
what I don't like. Like,
You want to
What's
start with
that like?
that?
What's that one movie where you're like, you've just had a really long day? It wasn't even bad or good, but you just had a long day. You're ready for it to be done. You want to crawl into bed. You put on your movie. What is it?
Mm. Hey, it's weird. Too Fast, Too Furious. Like the worst of the
Oh,
worst of the franchise,
oh, still a good one though.
but still a good one. Yeah, and thank God they brought them all back in. I think it was the sixth or seventh. They figured it out how to intersect that one because it's quite random in the series. But
Yeah.
I remember just being like a young kid, and I was back at my mom's at the time, and I had a TV in my room, and that was like I think the only movie I had. So I would just always kind of watch it on repeat, and it was like so settling. And actually I haven't watched it in quite a while, so maybe I need to watch it after this. Too Fast, Too
Too fast,
Furious.
too
furious.
And
fast,
like
furious.
Too Fast for y'all, man. Too Fast, Too Furious. Like Ludacris made that track.
Yeah.
Uh, It's great.
Luda.
Luda. What about you, B-Joy?
Once again, I hate these questions where it's like, what's your favorite? I'm like, I don't know. It depends on what personality I'm in right now. But I know that I always go to, I don't really have a comfort movie either. Like I didn't grow up with a lot of television
Mm,
or cable or like movies, and TV shows was something that came into my life quite a bit later.
mhm.
Um, but now as an adult, like I will put on my favorite movie that always makes me laugh is Hitman's Bodyguard with Samuel
Oh.
Jackson and Ryan Reynolds and what's
That's
her
a good
name?
one.
Selma,
Oh,
the
yes.
girl
Ah,
that's
yeah.
super hot, yeah, with the hot
Love
big
her.
tits. Ugh,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Anything with Ryan Reynolds or those action comedy movies where people are just being like super badassery, like I will put those on every time. Or like Deadpool, anything from Marvel.
Anything
Um,
from Ryan Reynolds, it sounds like.
yeah,
Yeah, literally, it sounds like.
honestly, anything kind of funny. And
Mhm.
also, though, recently I've been going back down into James Bond. I realize that anything that feels like too much of a genuine, like human experience without badassery, I can't watch. I'm one of those people that like visuals stay with me
Mm,
like for days after. And so it can't be
mm,
like war or torture or like really sad or somebody I love dies because I like feel like it's happened to me.
mm.
And then I dream about it for weeks. So in short, I don't fucking know. I don't have a movie.
Hitman's
Yeah.
Bodyguard.
Yeah.
This was definitely also hard for me to think about what is, because I'm a person, and much especially with music or anything art related, I have a favorite of that artist or a favorite of that genre or a favorite of like something that's a bit more specific, and it, then it plays to a lot of different things. Like I have a lot of favorites. I have a lot of favorite movies, a lot of favorite thing, and like movies is also something that I spent a lot of time uh watching. I didn't have cable, but my mom and I like went to like the DVD store. Like we went to Blockbuster. Like we would like rent out or like buy. Like I have a huge DVD collection now that I can't use because I don't have a DVD player anymore. But of just like old movies, and that was our thing. And then going to movies and things like that. So I have a lot of favorites. I don't know if I could pick just one, but I do also, what's sticking out is Big Mama House and Big Mama House 2. If you haven't watched those, you
Mhm.
should. Bronwynn, you should watch them because I do have them on DVD and I'm pretty sure I have both of them. And they're
And
fucking
justice for Martin
hilarious.
Lawrence. Like, bring him back.
Right?
Where
Like
is he?
just such a classic. It's so funny. It is real
Mhm,
feel good, and like it's a family movies. There's children. There's a bunch. So like it's one that you can just put on anytime, and it's just like
mhm.
it's so nice.
Wait, did you just say because there's like it's family because there's children in it?
Yes, it's family friendly because there's children in
It's like, did you ever see like what's that scary ass movie? Sorry, there's so many scary movies with children. I'm like, The Ring, that little fucking young
It doesn't even
girl.
anything scary.
Sorry,
Also,
don't
okay,
want to trigger
full
you.
side note before we move on, but just like Coraline, that movie, how is it a children's movie? I remember watching that as a child, and it's like it's kind of scary. I love the
Yeah,
movie,
yeah,
but I'm just like, how is that allowed for children to watch? It doesn't make no sense.
a different time.
Anyways, we're gonna move on. To the next little icebreaker question is, what's the last show you binge watched? Full stop. Last show
I'm
you binge watched.
I'm currently rewatching Vampire Diaries.
Great
Oh,
show.
okay,
Yeah,
crazy
Ten
because
out of 10.
Rogue is actually doing that right now. It's very Sagittarius aligned of you, like literally
I
right
like
now.
give me Damon all day and Steph. Honestly,
Ugh.
I would be Elena. I would just be confused and conflicted with both.
Oh no, so many options.
So many vampires. I would love to be a vampire.
Oh,
Dead ass.
absolutely.
I could see you as a vampire,
I know.
especially how white you look right now.
For anybody who's not having the visuals, just really visualize
Oh,
Casper's
gee.
face.
Yeah, just Casper the fucking white wallpaper ghost.
But it's April, the sun is coming, and then I will
The
be
sun is gonna.
a freckly baddie. Just you
Yes,
wait.
you
Yes.
are.
Oh, you're
Stay
freckles are
tuned.
gorgeous.
I think mine
Um,
would be, oh God, what is my last ambition? Oh, it's that like Harlan Coben, you know, those like series of like mystery suspense. I can't remember the exact title, but it was like in the top 10 list on Netflix forever. But it was like woman's husband dies, but oh, he's not actually dead. But yes, he actually was. It was like she saw camera footage of him, and then anyway, it's like her unraveling the mystery, and then yeah, I don't want to ruin the end, but it's just like edge of your seat. Like
Oh, love.
it's nice having anxiety that's not like
Not yours.
from yourself. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm so anxious and uncomfortable, but I can like pause this and then it's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, it's so nice when the anxiety is not yours, you know?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't own this anxiety, but I'm comfortable with it because I know it so well.
If only we could do that for ourselves, for our own anxiety.
Mm.
Pause it.
What's yours, Taylor?
I can't remember the last time I binge watched a show. Maybe I guess with Ragnarok. I guess when I watched it with you, B.
Oh yeah.
A show that I binge watched. I don't really binge watch many shows.
If anyone
Mhm.
hasn't seen that, it's what is it?
It's
It's
so good.
Norwegian. It's
Yeah, I think
a
so.
Norwegian show. It's basically on like the folklore, more so story of Thor, but with like a twist. And
That is
it's
so good.
yeah, binged it in a day. It was really good.
Mm. Noted.
Such a fan. That and Lucifer. That would probably be the last show that I
Lucifer. See, I also would love to
Yeah.
be an angel devil as well. Yeah.
right.
Mm.
I wanted
With
to
the
be
wings.
Lucifer.
That's a Vancouver show too. Hey,
Yes.
represent Vancouver.
Yeah. Burrard Street. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, the whole series on Broad Street, just Broad Street.
No, no. But there's like a scene, and like honestly, I think the first
Hmm.
episode where like if anybody knows Burrard Street, you see that
Yeah.
church, you're like, I know exactly where that is.
I-
Okay, let's segue to keep talking about movies, but we're going to talk about comfort movies and nostalgia movies and also the anxiety that's not ours and all of that stuff. So we're going to talk about like why is it maybe a bit more comfortable to watch movies that you have seen and again and binge watch and return versus watching movies for the first time that you have no idea what's going by, especially if anybody like watched a movie or a series without watching the trailer?
Mm, sometimes I sometimes skip the trailer and I'm just like, I know I'll like it. Like Fred is really like if we start watching the trailer, he's like, okay, I'm in, and we'll just turn off the trailer like 30 seconds in. But I definitely like to know a bit more, and I think like to get to know what to expect, but sometimes that leads me to like disappointment because the trailers, I'm like, are you sure this was the same movie? Or all the funny parts were in the trailer
In the
and then the
trailer, yeah.
movie sucks. But there's like a comfort in like familiarity, like anything, like your amygdala. I think it's your amygdala. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but there's that part of your brain that's just like looking for signs for safety and comfort, so you can like regulate. So when you're watching something that's like it's processing change. So if you're digesting a new image, a new thing, and it's familiar, I already know what to expect. I've already seen this before, so it's peaceful, it's calming. But if it's something new, you never know what to expect. So you're like, depending on the movie.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yes. B?
Well, they actually say it's a link for people that have anxiety or are neurodivergent. They will watch something into the ground. Like I know a few people in my life that have watched The Office, like I don't know, religiously, fall asleep to it every night. Grey's Anatomy is another show that people do that to. Friends, like all those, Seinfeld,
Yes.
you
The
know,
worst one. Seinfeld.
Family Guy, like all those old like religiously. And then yeah, it's like what you said, RJ, like there's familiarity in that. There's no risk. Like for me, it's interesting hearing you talk about how you like being anxious when it's not your own. Fuck that. I don't understand why I would watch something to feel an emotion that is not my own. And I have realized this. I've been recently doing my human design chart, and I am somebody that whatever's in front of me emotionally, I feel everyone's. I feel and
Did
I'm a
you feel
witch,
that?
and I
Did you
just
feel
made
that?
a oof, yeah. And I everything moves through me. I'm like a sponge. And so like I don't understand why I would want to watch something because now I feel angry. I feel sad. I feel all these things where I was like, I really just wanted to chill and unwind. So
But
I
also,
so I like watching things that I've seen before, or staying in that like comedy rom-com things where it's like, and then I have to be in a certain zone when I can handle feeling something so intensely or witnessing something. Like all those Black Mirror things when they came out, everyone was like obsessed, and like I watched like a couple, and then I was like, I'm too stressed, and I'll dream about it. I'll think about it for days after. So it's like a 15-day commitment.
Mm.
I still think about them, and it was like years ago when they came out.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I am obsessed with them.
I wonder where, because it feels like a balancing act, because you have to, like, I think Brown, you hit a really nice note of like, you want to be ready to be in any kind of state, you know, like if you're not in the mindset of like, I don't really know what emotion I'm ready to feel right now, but I sure as hell don't want to feel that or whatever. But I also think of like, well, we do feel these emotions in our daily lives. Like we come up with anger, and we do come up with fear, and we do come up with anxiousness, and we do come up with disgust and joy and all of these emotions that sometimes, like when they are, you know, full slap across the face, then we don't know what to do with them. And if we had practice of knowing what it feels like to be angry, but it's not your own, so you're not actually tying your own story to it, but you're feeling those emotions when you do have them in your real life, it almost feels like you're better equipped to kind of be like, well, I know what I feel like when I'm angry now. So now I know I'm angry and I'm angry versus me being angry because I watched a movie and a character pissed me off. You know what I mean?
I'm coming over
But
to your
also,
house
like,
and we're
how do you
watching.
deal with that when you're not ready to? Because imagine if you wanted to be in peacefulness and all of a sudden you're pissed off. Like, so
Yeah.
I feel like it's a balancing act for sure.
And it has to be you. Like you have to choose
Yes.
what you're ready for. Like I know I love like Saw, for example. I don't know why. I love Saw or like Escape Room. I love those movies, but I think like I don't like them like at 10 o'clock at night before bed.
Yeah.
Because then my dream, my sleep paralysis is a fucking escape room.
Let
Yes.
me put this in example. Voldemort, I watched it as a grown adult, okay, during the pandemic, and I still see him in my closet at nighttime when the lights are red. Like
Okay, but
like
like he's kind of scary.
I tried to watch Harry Potter in grade 5, and I left my friend's house. Soon as you saw like the weird Reaper people on the train or whatever, I literally left it. I was like, "Oh, I have to go." Never watched Harry Potter again until the pandemic, and I still wigged out.
That
Listen.
Like Saw, never seen it. Escape Room,
Oh,
never seen it. The trailers of scary movies on Netflix, I
no.
squeeze my eyes.
Know thyself. Know
No.
thyself.
yes.
Everyone
Okay,
listening.
but like the trees, when they make the weird shapes, like stress me out. Like I literally, you'll never see me more terrified. Like I would rather watch a scary movie and
Mm-hmm.
freak out through all the jump scares than the weird little images you see like behind curtains or like in the dark where all of a sudden it's just like this. I no. Bad
Scary.
TV. Anyways, I did have a question though, because this has brought up something that I'm really curious actually. Um, you Brown, you made like a list of like go-to movies that people will like binge, like The Office, Friends, you know, then we added Seinfeld and all those things. And I started to notice a really small thread between them is a lot of those shows also are low-key kind of problematic in certain instances, but there's still shows that we hold dear.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really curious as to why, because they're also the shows that were made at such a specific time that do give us all this nostalgia, do give us the, you know, calming our anxiety because we know the plot, we know them
Mm-hmm.
day in, day out, we can watch this absentmindedly, whatever. And yet they're also the ones that we're pulling under fire to get canceled, what,
Mm-hmm.
20, 10 years later?
Mm-hmm.
Super
Why?
bad. All that
I
stuff.
You
feel
know what I
like
mean? Like where are we going, like now, like I think I just am stuck with this, you know, we talked about it a little bit last week of like, not last week, last episode of like the cancel culture and all this stuff and like what it's doing to people, but also how is it shaping how we make the new media that's coming out,
mm-hmm.
because I see all of us still grappling to go back to nostalgia, go back
Mm-hmm.
to comfort, go back to the things that we, you know, are tried and true. We can watch them day in, day out. And yet those are also the ones that are under fire.
Mm-hmm. Would that I get so like lost. I mean, again, I'm super in this era of like I'm already canceled. But
Yes.
like I really don't like trigger warnings. Like I feel, and so I'm gonna say, and I'll disclaimer it, but like I feel like sometimes art nowadays has become so like before you even get into the art, the media, it's like, okay, here's my land acknowledgement. Okay, make sure I say my pronouns, make sure I positionality myself in society and acknowledge my privilege. And then I need to trigger warning this and da. And then it's like, oh my God, it's been a fucking hour. I just want to see you fucking dance to Promiscuous Girl by Nelly Furtado. And it's, but
Such a
what?
specific example too.
Yeah,
But
in your
why?
schoolgirl outfit.
It is going on. Like, I just want to see it. Let me see what I want to see. But I think like the reason why and I had this like scholar like years ago kind of introduced this idea of like not having trigger warnings because the reality is, and you touched on this a bit in the beginning too, it's like we're meant to feel these feelings and we have to feel these feelings. So I understand that they can be uncomfortable. I understand that they can be um hard, but I think they reflect the realities of the world. Sacha Baron Cohen, his movies, Borat was so problematic from a cancel culture like lens, but in the same breath, he was only bringing to life really gross truths of society. And the reason why he was able to do that is because they exist. And he made that become a part of conversation.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
that
And
part.
and art's not supposed to be for everybody. Like, period. It is a
Hmm.
it
That
and
part.
that's it. Like that's literally all I have to say. It's like if in the art that you create or
Hmm.
um absorb isn't going to be for everybody and it should ruffle feathers. Like
Hmm.
art is political. Like
Hmm.
it can be, right? Or it can be me just dancing around a promiscuous girl because that makes me feel good because the
Yeah.
world's burning. Or it can be something like, you know, like that movie or sharing a topic or about, your struggle in a society. And I feel like all this layering of all these things is further pulling the curtain across like everything that's actually wrong and hard and
Hmm.
sad and fucked up and how can we communicate, and it's like bringing back to the feelings too. It's like, when you're watching something and all of a sudden you feel disgust and you're like, oh well, it's a movie. Well, guess what, that's actually happening. Like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, and if we're just um you know sh- putting everything in this box so we don't offend anybody, nothing has substance anymore.
Yep.
Then we're all gonna watch fucking Teletubbies. And it's
Yeah,
not a
right.
So,
good show.
though honestly, I love the Teletubbies. I was Poe for Halloween 3 years in a row, complete with the
Oh.
scooter. There's
Oh
a
my
photo.
God. And I was
I need
fucking
this
I
photo.
Dipsy was my bitch. I don't know why.
Dipsy.
Maybe is Dipsy the one with the
Mal.
dick on her head?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
My mom knew young.
And look at me now. I have an electric scooter.
Yeah.
Poe.
But that's true.
Life imitate art, art imitates life.
And that, yeah, like how do we, it's like it all is kind of like little like I think we look to things and media to tell the exact whole story. I don't know why I'm making a fisting hand, but like we want it to tell the whole story.
The whole
Uh
story.
but it can never because we all live in this like multiverse of experiences and we all just experience people related to that universe that we individually kind of, and that's why it's important I think like when we're criticizing art, like I hate like, oh, that wasn't good, or like, they can't dance, or these kind of comments. Like, no, I can be like, I didn't really understand how this made sense to this. Can you explain what your thought was in that? Wow, what a great conversation. Like
Yeah.
normalize critical feedback and curiosity together. But if every person on this earth was empowered in their experience to create art for themselves that reflected their universe, I
Yeah.
think then we wouldn't have such a fragile cancel kind of culture. But in a world where people don't have time or don't make time to create, they're just like quick to jump on something fast, to be a part of something, to have a voice, to feel heard, and then bam, Scary Movie 1 canceled. It's my favorite movie.
Well, and you know what's interesting is like just think about all the remakes that are being made. Like no one can create anything new. They're like, oh, Freaky Friday revamp? Cool, that's coming up. Willy Wonka has been remade now 3 times. They wait like a certain amount of years, and then now they're redoing all the Disney movies with animals and people so that you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's nothing new being created, and all the stuff that I feel like could maybe rock the boat is being stopped before it can even begin. And I also think that to kind of tack onto like, the trigger warnings and the layering and all of that. And again, c- uh it's more complicated than that because in some cases, yeah, like the trigger warnings are useful, but it now feels like a checklist.
Yeah.
Which then therefore still furthers this like people are doing it so they're not canceled, not because they don't have an understanding of what it is that they're even fucking saying or the importance of what they're saying.
Yeah.
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 But like, or like, it's like I saw one presentation where she's like, and then I had an alcoholic beverage, and then she did this big trigger warning of like, talks about substance use issues and addictions, and I was like, no, you said you had a drink, like, and so,
Yeah.
It almost amplifies
Yes.
stuff that's
Yes.
happening, like trigger
yeah,
warning for because I'm talking about the C-section I had when I had a baby. And they just say, "Oh, I had a C-section." There was no graphic story, no nothing, and it's just
Yeah.
you gave birth.
you gave birth, yeah, and that's why I
Cool.
think your trigger warnings have to. Good job.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
trigger warnings have to make sense to the depth
Yes.
of the content, and I think there is a measure of respect of like if you're
Yes.
talking about going graphic into a domestic violence, and like for me that's something I've seen in my life, and so I would like to know what I'm getting myself into, especially if the show's called like Our Happy World, like, and so and the synopsis doesn't mention it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm going to a battered woman, I know what I'm getting myself into already, right? And so it's like it's just making your titles, your synopsises, like just being really intentional. So it's not a fucking checkbox. My
But
God.
it's also exactly that. Like who is it for? Who is that trigger warning for?
Mhm.
Like if you're talking about like, oh, I had a drink and you now have a whole trigger warning for it. You didn't put that trigger warning for the for alcoholics so that they wouldn't get triggered. You put that trigger warning so that you wouldn't get canceled.
Yeah.
Which means that now that trigger warning was actually made for you and not
Mhm.
for who it was actually intended for. You know what I mean?
And also it's like you wanted to make this trigger warning, but then here's this alcoholic bar with no non-alcoholic options. Like let's talk about your your venue, and
Yeah.
you're
And oh,
promoting.
And oh
I'm just saying, it just people. I hope in media and things like people just get more intentional and less fearful of canceling. Like a show like Working Moms, it was an all-white cast. If you ever watch that show on CBC, it's fucking hilarious. But it was an all-white cast, so it was really great for them to integrate like a
was it?
black
Oh,
character. Yeah.
until later. Yes, 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 yes.
Until they bring
Yeah.
her, but when they bring her in this abrupt way where she's just in it. And I think like, you know what? It's the reality of like systemic racism and violence are real truths. And so I really like when storytelling honors the reality and authentically brings a character in instead
And
of
she
like,
was a boss.
fuck. She was a fucking boss. She was one of the
Yeah.
best characters of the show. But you sometimes when people put media, they just again checkbox and they're like, well, oh fuck, we need to put a brown person in here because we don't have one, and then it just doesn't fit the art or the story, and then it's not authentic sometimes to the culture of the person. Like people will put a brown character, and then other brown folks will comment and like, I don't think we behave like that.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always like to say at the end of the day, as long as we have something for everybody, not everything has to be for everybody.
Mm.
Yes. Slogan.
And if people were empowered in their experience to create their own art,
There would be something for everybody.
right, because you're if
Slogan, double
yeah.
whammy right there. Holy shit.
Ugh. Well, should we go into our friggin' no? Should we
I
go?
I was just gonna say honestly, I think we can go into our audience questions because I think that it's going to be a nice little segue into what we also are comfortable talking about, but also I think that because we're all artists and we're all creative, that this is also going to be coming up in some of our answers for these
Exactly.
questions. So the first one
Wait, can I disclaimer us
Oh,
quick?
yes, please
We
do.
are not, please no, we are not
Oh,
professionals.
yes.
Do not take this advice as fact.
Yes.
These are just three glorious messes helping you in your mess. So it's
This is also very good, great little warning to do because these questions are gonna need it. We are not professionals, okay? We are not licensed professionals. We're not therapists.
Mhm.
Go find your own therapist if you want to. But here's some musings you can bring to your therapist. Um, First question. I'm passionate about social justice issues, but sometimes I feel overwhelmed by the state of the world. How do you stay hopeful and motivated to create change even when it feels like progress is slow? I will start by saying you got to sit in that slow because as somebody who loves efficiency and loves to find the most efficient, productive way we can do things, and I'm chastising people to get to the, you got to let the progress be its own progress, and that
Mhm.
is honestly the first part to allowing it not to overwhelm you.
Mhm. And I obviously, those of you watching saw that I just vape. Nicotine vapes are really helpful for processing stress. I'm kidding, that's terrible. Um, for me, like this is my bread and butter in so many ways. And that's the fucked up thing about it too, is I get paid quite a bit of money to do some of this work, and that feels gross in and of itself. I want to make the world a better place, but then I also have to survive and charge a certain amount, and seeing the inequities of that, where like people on the ground, frontline, are getting paid like barely living wages, and then here I am in like a managerial role making a consistently good income, and just talking about it, not even like, that's I think the scary thing. But we talk about the state of the world. One thing I think for people to really recognize is like, especially because of technology, we know every single fucking issue happening about every single marginalized identity and every single thing. I think it's really important that people connect to their why. What is my why? So for me, I'm really interested, obviously, in like Indigenous resurgence, and I'm really interested as someone who survived foster care and whose aunts and uncles went through the Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children. Like, I'm really interested in how systems cause harm to specifically mostly Black and Indigenous people, and then through that, it happens to impact disability studies and other intersections within that. But starting with your why helps you focus in recognizing the state of the world. There's so many things, but same with art. If everyone can create art, if people can also take initiative in the areas that are important to them and their lived experience, then I think we would see a better world. And then we can focus and say, you know what, this is existing, it's there, and I hope people are tackling it, or I can shed light, I can find kind of more minor ways maybe to be involved. For example, like what's going on in Palestine, like one of the ways I've been able to show up is by attending protests, right? And so, and then sharing certain posts can be very helpful. And so it's like I'm still involved, but I'm not maybe going to the depth of where I would go and the emotional depth that I might go in terms of Indigenous resurgence and Indigenous rights and issues. But I'm still doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I go back to this concept, this quote. I'm gonna butcher the quote, but the idea of like, if you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel or
Mhm.
the goal, if you can see your next step, then just take that. And
Mm,
so to scale it back down to like, if we've got all of these huge things and you're like nothing is happening, if you can
mhm,
refocus and go back to being like, okay, well I can do this,
mhm,
and then going through there because everything will lead
mhm,
eventually.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah, I agree with everything y'all are saying. I find for me, um, I, it's challenging. It's so easy to also slide into like this pit of despair, especially I think the generations that we're in, and especially for the ones below us. It's kind of like there's so many, like, I want to say chronic issues, but like, like climate change,
Yeah.
systematic racism, like the structures that we have in place just for our own bubble don't work.
Yeah.
And
mhm,
then you zoom out, and then there's the fuckery that's happening on even a wider scale that's not systematic, but like, famine, the Palestine issue, there's just so much. And I think uh to stay curious in researching your sources and what's going on, so that your education of what's happening, so you have more information, finding out, like, following certain pages that are source good. So there is a simple, I mean, not, simple way to, like,
Mhm.
sign for this petition, phone this phone number, maybe if you do have an extra $5, but those lanes of those bigger issues. And then as far as the stuff going around you, like, I mean, for me, I'm a strong believer in the ripple effect. Like, sometimes if I can't do these big changes for, um, how do I walk through life? Like how do I treat, especially, with racism things, and lack of safe spaces for queer individuals, or indigenous folks, like all of those people, how do I show up? How can I make space for those peoples? How do I lead my room? How do I and that can kind of, do you have those conversations with people in your life that maybe do not do those same things, and start from, like,
Mm.
family members, friends, people, coworkers, they say something and you're like, oh, interesting, why do you think that you would say that? Change someone's mind, like,
Yeah.
one person at a time, and hopefully, that ripples out, and that eventually will make change, at least in your own bubble. Or and I think that kind of ties into the cancel culture too, right? It's like, have a conversation.
Always
Yeah.
comes back to cancel culture.
Yeah, have a
But like
conversation
actually
though.
though, yeah, 100%. Have a fucking conversation.
And planting the
Imagine,
seed.
imagine how much we could actually get done if we
hmm
just had more conversations with each other for the
hmm
basis of understanding, and then going from there through that,
hmm
you know?
Yeah,
And it's
planting the
not
seed.
because
Hmm.
we're all a part of this system, like it's not any one individual's responsibility at
Yeah,
all.
start
And
to
so,
target.
yeah, plant the seed and then trust that other things will go in place to deal with your problematic grandma. And if not, she's gonna die soon. So
I mean,
Where's the lie?
I know. So I feel so bad saying that. Like my grandma's so sick right now. Love you, grandma. Shout out to grandma.
yeah.
Yeah, she's a lot nicer now. She used to be a little B word, though, I will say, but she's a lot nicer now with those good pain meds. So shout out
I
to
mean, listen,
grandma.
when you've been on this earth the way it is for as long as you have, like, at some point, I think. Anyhow, last question I've got for us, unless we are percolating on any others, um, says, I am interested in exploring therapy, but I'm not sure where to start. What advice do you have for someone considering therapy for the first time? And as three people who love therapy, I feel like this is a perfect question for us.
Let me tell you, shop, shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I um like, read about people. Like, and there's so many modalities.
hmm
Um, you can't really, I know, I like to think that you can't really fuck it up. Like, the fact that you are even curious and wanting to do therapy, gold star.
hmm
Congratulations. Tell all your friends, bring them with you, you know? And then try different modalities. I started with talk therapy. It's usually pretty straightforward. You sit there and you chat. But most therapists, or even counselors, you can do a free 15-minute meet or phone
hmm
call, or
hmm
and that was very useful for me because I saw a bunch of people, and um some gave me the ick, and then some also, I could tell that I was feeling like I was having to portray myself in a certain light to feel heard. So there's a few little personality things coming up. Then you find somebody you like and run with it. I Yeah, talk therapy is a good place to start, especially if you feel like you have something very specific that you are wanting to maybe start to go through. And for those of you that are maybe know that you need to unlock something, but you're not totally sure, and you are very aware of your energy in your body, or
hmm
body focused, you're coming from some sort of profession or creativity space that you feel like that's where you release a lot, then like something like somatic therapy or other things would be useful. breath work is also something. So just shop, like try
Mhm.
everything. And obviously that can be a challenge financially for some, but most check-in things are free. So you can
Mhm.
kind of, and also like ask somebody that you know who's been in therapy. Maybe they have a good recommendation for you. But
Mhm.
definitely shop and don't feel like an asshole if you meet somebody and you can't put your finger on it and you just don't feel like you can open up to them. Next
Mhm.
one,
Because that
point
also
blank.
doesn't have anything to do with the therapist or you. Like if you just don't click, you just don't click, and
Yeah.
there's no use to try and force it if it's because then
Are
it's not
you
helpful for you.
are you just
You-
holding your mic in your hand? Sorry.
Yeah, the whole it's fine.
I was gonna say in terms of like barrier free too is like across Canada, most of I think there's only like 2 listeners in the States, but when I look at the stats, but like anyone who's in Canada, 211 is your like connect to like community government support programs and all of this. So like if financial barriers ever come up, go to 211 and talk to them, and they're gonna connect you with like low cost or free resources and places you can start. So 211 if you're in Canada, if you're in America. That was your decision. I'm sorry I can't help you. But Google could probably help you.
Google will definitely be able to help. I also really like to what Brown said on like talk to your friends, like not in terms of replacement of therapy, but in terms of like finding out what works for them and also
Mhm.
what could work for you, and also looking at them of being like, what do you think would be best for me? Because also sometimes what we think is best for ourselves is usually us trying to avoid what actually will work, and we're trying to
Mhm.
find the ones that will feel the most comfortable.
Mhm.
And sometimes our friends can be the ones to be like, well, I know you really love talk therapy, but like maybe try this one or
Mhm.
things like that. And not to say that you have to take their word for it, but they might bring up, different modalities that you might not even thought about.
Yeah.
Different brains will bring up different things in different lengths. So
Mhm.
spread the word and do
Yeah.
your research.
Yeah. Hit up those resources and trust me, you're gonna love it, you're gonna hate it, but you're
all at
gonna
the same
grow
time.
Yeah.
all at the same time. And listen, I think maybe my concluding thoughts was just like it's okay to break up with your therapist.
Yes.
So just remember that if you go through a couple sessions, when they say like read 2 chapters of a book before you give up, like do a couple sessions, try it. If something in you is still uneasy about anything, honor that part of yourself, and say and let them know, and say like, I would like to try someone else, maybe in the same program. If you go to a like Vancouver Counseling Center, these centers that offer really affordable options, there's a ton of other options there that might be better aligned with you. So.
I was
I
also going to say
also
that too for everything.
Mhm.
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 I I also would say like if you're somebody that is a different race or queer, or sometimes it is helpful to like look at the bio and see if there's somebody that is dealing with similar
Mhm.
things in life as yourself. So there's less of a barrier there. But again, other sometimes therapists, they're very open, but definitely that's always a good kind of look as well. And my third thing is don't over therapy. Like I found that when I started, I was seeing her once a week and I was so in my head. Like I was over therapizing everything about my personality. I was like, what's real? And I actually ended up, yeah, what's real? What's because of my insecurities? What is my personality? What is like
Yeah.
like warped? And so I would recommend starting either like once a month or bi-weekly. And
Mhm.
then if you need more, do more. But a lot of the times I hear people like they're like, I see her once a week for an hour and a half, and you're like, it's too much.
Mhm.
Give time to
Mhm.
marinate.
Yeah. I'd also add to adding. So like, I think Brown's idea of like doing like say if you do talk therapy once a month, then like maybe adding something else. Like maybe you go, I don't know, do breath work for, once a month as well. And those are the two things that like finding different things that work for different areas of you.
Mhm.
Cross training for the
Yes,
mind.
exactly. Cross training for the mind, 100%. And then it also just feels like it's not like, tunnel vision and this one way of healing. And then
Mhm.
you're just stuck there for months of like, this is,
This is
and then when you're
it.
not healed, you come out the other side and you're like, man, I just wasted all this time for nothing. You're like, well, it's not linear.
And also thank you to, our wonderful community for sharing stories of your lives. And please, our
Yes.
DMs are open. So Follow us at The Only Glorious Mess and send us your questions. And if you want to put it's not for you, it's for your boyfriend or girlfriend or they friend. Whatever makes you feel safe, we will happily speak to whatever you want to talk about because you are a part of this community and we are a part of it with you. So we want to hear from you. Hit us up.
Yeah, hit us. Yeah, it's been
Trigger
fun, y'all.
warning. Sorry.
It's been a slice.
I'm canceled. I told you I'm operating. I'm canceled. Yeah. Sorry, it's been a
Listen, if I'm
slice.
gonna get canceled, I'm gonna get canceled looking good. Just kidding.
Ew. Are you closing us out, Bronwynn? With a
Sure
prayer?
thing. All right. If you're listening right now, everybody take a nice deep breath in through your nose and exhale. Honestly, just like start and end your day with like 3 deep breaths and watch your nervous system hit baseline. Beach. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you bi-weekly next time for episode 12. And yeah, keep hitting us up with things. We are working on creating a curating playlist for your needs, so that will be coming soon. And in the spirit of having constructive feedback, maybe just feedback for us too.
Ooh, yes.
No. We don't. No, you can just turn us off. We don't care what you have to say. Imagine. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, we always love feedback.
As in like topics, what do you want to hear more of, that kind of
Absolutely,
thing.
please.
Me and Taylor are new to this like tech setup. So if it's like we can't hear you, shut up. I'm working on it.
I'm just taking stabs in the dark, okay? I am not a tech savvy person. I don't know what the people want. Let me know what you want.
Our DMs are open.
Yes. That's all. Love y'all.
Love y'all. Stay safe.